Hello and welcome to ET Auto Big Bite, a show that brings industry leaders. And today I'm joined by Nitin Chalke, President Asia Pacific, Eaton Hydraulics and Vehicles Group. He is also the Managing Director of Eaton Corporation, Indian subsidiary. Thank you so much, Mr. Chalke, for joining in. Eaton is one of the biggest automotive conglomerate when it comes to component. You largely focus on drivetrain, engines, and transmission system. In India, you have been for over 20 years now, and you have made fair share of investment. Uh, how are you dealing with the current market slowdown that you have in India that was persistent for last 2 years, and especially that has been aggravated after the pandemic? So especially the supply chain part, how are you dealing with that?
Thank you very much, Nabil. And first of all, thanks to ET Auto and you for inviting us. I'm really glad to speak to ET Auto and share our perspective about our company, the businesses in general, and more specific on automotive industry. As we start this interaction, I would first like to wish all our viewers a safe stay, because we are passed through a major phase in managing the COVID pandemic, but the pandemic is still not behind us. So it's very important for all of us to stay focused on safety and well-being of us and as well as our employees. So I hope that everyone is staying safe wherever they are.
Okay, I just want to understand, have you been able to completely overcome your supply chain constraint that came up after pandemic? And what were the strategy to smoothen and deal with any other outbreak if it is going to be like we are seeing that another phase of outbreak has started in NCR. Pune has been one of the hotbeds of coronavirus. You have 8 locations in India where you have manufacturing unit. So how did you manage the supply chain, your tier 2, tier 3 supplies? What percentage of them were local and how much of it was import, and how did you manage in these crisis times?
Interesting question. And as the industry suffered, we do had a challenge of, first of all, forecasting the demand. And then as the demand started picking up, how do we manage the demand going forward has been a big challenge for us, like all our industry colleagues. I guess two things helped us. So first is that even when the crisis started, we always stayed in touch on both sides. So we stayed in touch with all our customers, our large OEM partners, to know what was going on, to understand the dynamics in the market and the changes which were happening in the industry. At the same time, on the other side, we kept our employees as well as our suppliers informed about what we were learning, and also learning from them about what they were hearing with other companies that they have been dealing with, either in the industry or outside. So this continuous connect on both sides really helped us stay informed on what was happening in the industry and how the industry was coping with it. Being part of various industry forums, we also stayed in touch with other industries to again share our best practices on what we have been doing, but also learning from our industry colleagues about how they were dealing with the situation and keeping ourselves abreast. All our entity leaders in India, like we have multiple industries, like you said, with the 8 manufacturing locations, the tech center and the professional service center. All our entities leaders, we had a daily calls on discussing about how to deal with the pandemic, which was then shifted to weekly, bi-weekly, and things like that. So deep communication, in some cases over communication, helped us stay informed on what we are doing. And then as the market started coming back, we started being, preparing ourselves for handling this situation in a better way. So that was I would say, a very big thing for us to really prepare ourselves and manage the crisis through the current situation. That's how we started. Second thing is, as the demand started picking up and we started ramping our operations, for sure there were initial supply challenges. And first of all, forecasting the demand for a week or 2 weeks was difficult for our OEMs, and then for us to give the schedules to our suppliers. But again, we tried to break down the long-term schedules to short-term schedules, because in situations like this, projecting the demand over a large period of time becomes difficult. So you had to break down the schedules over a shorter period of time and ensure that you are meeting those schedules and then build on that. So that's how we have been working. A lot of times, supply of raw material for us as well as our OEM partners, our supplier partners, has been a challenge. So dealing with supplies of steel, some castings in some cases has been a challenge. And then again, over there, we try to leverage the scale we have to support our suppliers to get preferences, get priorities on getting the material from our some of the steel mills or the suppliers or the distributors, to make sure our supplies are not interrupted. It is not that we have done a perfect job. We have been learning as we get into those things and trying to improve our schedules and make sure that our OEM supplies are consistent and we do not result into production stoppages. I'm glad to say that both our suppliers and our customers have been really supporting us, exchanging information in a transparent way to help us prepare our schedules and manage them well. And also from our side, our employees have ensured that they are available to us whenever required, and we could really scale up the operation as required to
Mr.
support them.
Of course, definitely, these are unseen times and unprecedented times we have never experienced. So we really learn on the work, on the job. That's the situation right now. I just wanted, it's been almost 8, 9 months now since we entered the lockdown and unlock. It's been 3, 4 months we have been experiencing the unlock, but still in the unlocks situation also we did not have full-fledged supply or full-fledged functioning of the entire industry, because there was some area where you had critical issues of cases coming up on the floor in the factories that also interrupted. Just wanted to understand from your experience at Eaton, what were highs and lows in terms of production, in terms of capacity utilization, in terms of ramp up, if you could share, and how did you manage to lessen the impact? If you could briefly, share with us what were the strategy, what were the steps that you took.
Yeah, so the lows for sure were at the beginning of the phase, right, where we had almost complete shutdown and the plants were not running. So that's how it started. And since then, as the government rightfully so focused on managing the safety of everyone, right? I mean, that has been the focus of both central as well as state government. And I guess they have done a great job to communicate with us regularly, come up with the regulations, and look at what the industry can do to first of all arrest the crisis, and then slowly and gradually opening up the situation, opening up the economy in steps, to make sure that slowly we start going back to the normal way. I know that even today we are not at a full normal. We still have many challenging situations which all have to deal with before we go there. So that has been our way also. And like I mentioned earlier, our focus has been safety first. So first ensure that everything is done safely. Our parent company also has been consistently sharing with us how the crisis evolved over a period of time, starting with China, then getting into other Asia Pacific countries, and then to India and to Europe and India, and then to North America. But learnings of each of these geographies were shared with us on a regular basis, which helped us to be proactive in some cases on what we could do and deal with the situation. Industry bodies in India, our customers, our suppliers also helped us stay connected. So that has been a big piece. Our employees and suppliers showing a good amount of discipline when they are in our premises has been a good plus, which helped us to really deploy the actions we were asking them to execute. But I think our focus also slowly shifted first from what to do to how to do it within the Eaton premises, to how do we educate and ensure that our employees and our channel partners and our suppliers are also demonstrating the right behavior for social distancing, for engaging with communities in a big way outside our premises. So we shifted our communication from how do they work and how do they act and behave within Eaton premises to how they behave when they're outside, because a lot of our work, 75% of our workforce is a young workforce, with Gen Y, Gen Z population. So they interact socially quite a lot as the economy was opening up and they were allowed to interact with families and friends. But then again, we educated them on what they should be doing as they interact with socially with within their personal time, and that ensured that our numbers stay low. We have been monitoring the case rates into the geographies we work, but we have also been monitoring the case rate into our employees and their communities to make sure that the numbers stay low, and any help we could provide for either hospitalization are required or some hygiene practices or providing sanitizers or masks for our employee base or in the communities they interact was really another
Capacity,
good step.
what is the capacity utilization right now, and what was the worst that you went to? What is the current level of utilization in terms of
So
capacity
it
utilization?
Yeah, we are slowly building up, not where we were in the pre-pandemic area, but certainly it's more than 50% right now. The good news is that every month we are seeing the schedules going up and the forecast for a 2 months, 3 months period getting better. So that is the good news, and we hope that this continues and we go back to the normal day. So for sure, the Q3 was better than, or yeah, the Q3 for this financial year or Q4 for this calendar year is better than the previous quarter, and we hope that quarter 4 of financial year, quarter 1 of next calendar year gets better as well. So we are seeing a significant and continuous improvement in the demand, which is always a good news. And we are also ramping up our capacity and our production in line with that demand.
What is your distribution of your business when it comes to segment, and which segment is doing better than the other ones?
Uh, Look, globally, about 60-65% of our business comes from the electrical sector, and the balance comes from the industrial sector. That has been the distribution of the business. And amongst the industrial sector, we have three businesses. We have automotive business, we have our hydraulics business, and we have our aerospace business, which are roughly spread slightly similar. Vehicle business has a slightly larger pay. So that has been our play. In India, like you said, we have 8 manufacturing locations. Out of those 8, 3 manufacturing locations are for our vehicle or automotive businesses, and out of those 3, 2 are automotive engine wall plants, and one which makes transmission. So that has been our spread of our businesses in India. In addition to the manufacturing locations, we also have a global innovation center, which supports our global operations for their engineering needs, for their innovation needs. We have 2 facilities now, one in Kharadi and one in Magarpatta. The Magarpatta facility is the new investment we made about 2 years ago, where we have put an integrated facility which also has its own test labs. So we can actually design, test, and validation our products in one facility. Our employees, our engineers have the ability to do whatever analysis, whatever testing they need to do in the same facility, where they can do tiered analysis, they can test the new products, new innovative products which we launch in the market in the same premises. So that has been a center. I'm proud to say that even during the corona crisis, barring few days of complete lockdown, we have been managing to continue with our prototype testing, because the test facilities have to run on an ongoing basis. And with the special approvals from the government, we were able to keep our critical operations going in our test labs on a continuous basis.
In India, you have large portion of business coming from automobiles or automotive sector. I just want to understand which segment is responding better, passenger vehicle, commercial vehicle, off highway, or where do you see the better traction or business that is helping you thrive on the business?
I would say our presence is into both the passenger cars through the valves and valve actuation products which we supply, and again our transmissions are sold for heavy duty trucks. So that's the segments we play right now. We are seeing a steady growth, I would say, in both the segments. And by the way, so we also export our products to the markets in Europe as well as North America. We are seeing a stable growth. the utilization is still not at the level at which it was in the pre-COVID area, but it is differentiate the growth rate. I would say the growth rates, barring few points, have stayed similar, both on passenger cars. Initially, the passenger cars were higher in terms of the percentage growth rate when the markets came back, but now we are seeing the heavy duty trucks market also, which we saw significantly coming back at a faster rate. So I would say there is not a big differentiation between the segment needs we see. We have seen the European exports slow down, pick up a bit at a slower pace than how we saw some of the markets pick up. But right now we are seeing a steady demand in that also. But whether that demand is a consumer demand or the restocking happening is other thing we need to be mindful of. So sometimes as the markets come back, there is always a channel restocking happening in the initial phase. This finally results into a steady demand as the consumer demand picks up. So we really need to observe the markets a bit carefully to ensure there is a steady consumer demand. And with the recent festivals in India, where you have seen some of the auto industry numbers pick up, we expect that the demand will be stable and sustainable.
With this pandemic, the business has completely been disrupted. Do you see your business break up in terms of revenue from domestic market and exports market to get changed? And what would be it like? What was your contribution from exports previously, and how does it look like going forward? Or is it going to be a deliberate, more focus towards exports market, or how is it going to shape up?
Well, our strategy has always been, first of all, be a strong local player, but with the global aspirations. And being part of a global company, it helps us to really access those markets, because Eaton as a company is known to the large OEMs across the world, and we already have an exchange, the current existing interaction or business relationship with many of the large OEMs, which helps us to continue to scale up our operations and our business, export business in India. So that has been our strategy for a long time. I would not relate it to what is happening because of COVID. COVID in some cases would help us accelerate our exports, but export has been part of our strategy for a long time, and we have been exporting our, not only automotive but all the industries have been exporting our solutions to global markets. So we will continue on that path. I don't see that changing in a big way, that our focus would be on becoming a strong local player, and but also at the same time we continue to explore opportunities in the global market. So we would continue to do that going forward as well.
You're leading the business in APAC region also. Can you share with us how the recovery is shaping in various part of the APAC region, various country of the APAC region?
Well, that's an interesting question, because part of my APAC portfolio, I have really seen through the beginning of 2020 this spread happening first in China, where our markets were impacted, then to Japan, Korea, and other Southeast nations like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and then slowly in India, and then the export markets getting impacted. I think all these countries have reacted very, very quickly to arrest the situation. If you look at China, within about 4 to 5 months, the situation was almost going back to normal with a very strong demand. And if you look at the automotive numbers of last few months in China, the markets have really bounced back very, very strongly and very, very rapidly. And there is a strong demand into that segment. You also see that being followed by export-driven economies like Japan and Korea. They had a significant impact, not only because of the corona COVID situation in their countries, but because of the exports they do to European and North America markets. And as their end markets slowed down, there was a significant slowdown on the manufacturing in these countries. And we have noticed that our businesses in these countries also had a challenging situation in those situations. Countries like Australia also got challenged because of their exports to South Asian markets like Indonesia, Japan, and to some extent China, and those suffered as well. But all these countries have been very proactive. You would see that the case rate, the corona positive case rate in these countries, as you see, follow those graphs, came down very significantly over a period of 2 to 3 months with initial peaks. And these countries have been managing the crisis very, very well. A lot of those learnings we actually deployed in our Indian operations as we started facing the crisis from the end of March period, and deploying many of those practices and implying that. I would say Asia in general has done a good job, thanks to the discipline followed by the countries and the regulations imposed by some of those countries there. And in our cases, the work done by the government and the response from the employees and many companies and the industry bodies to really work closely with them, which has helped them recover. Over the last few months, we are seeing the numbers not only in China but also in these economies go up into the business, both domestic and export. So in general, you are seeing a positive trend. We are hopeful that the vaccine news we are recently hearing from different companies results into a real vaccine, which we all get, and we are past this crisis and start going back to normal days in the near future. So that has been our focus so far.
Looking at the post-pandemic time, we have seen everything has changed. The new normal that we are talking about, that's the buzzword. Just want to understand in this new normal, when we look at the world order in terms of automotive business or manufacturing business, where do you see India standing, and also India's position in Asia Pacific region when we talk about the mega trends in automotive also, like we are talking about connected, we are talking about electrification. Keeping all this in mind, where do you see India stand in APAC region and in the global scheme of things?
Yeah. So India as a market has always been a potential market for a long time, and with our population and our focus on growth, nobody would ignore India as a country, right? As a market, and as we know very well, all our large players in the industry are currently having their presence in India. Most of them have a very significant manufacturing presence in India, not only to serve the domestic market, but also for export market. Initiatives like Make in India have really strengthened the belief of the industry that it's important for them to have a significant presence in India. And as the market grows, they also stand to gain both domestically, but also with the capabilities we are developing in the country. They are able to utilize those learnings in the global markets. Also, with the focus on Atmanirbhar Bharat now, you see again another rigor, another wave of all the companies looking at what more can they do to tap the potential of India for their global businesses. I would say auto component industry would, and also because with the current geopolitical situation developments in the global environment, we see that India would stand to gain from that. As auto component industry, there would be more opportunities for us to look at growing our businesses outside India. The markets in Southeast Asia, where from Eaton perspective, we have been focused for a long time now, we are seeing some opportunities for us to export more there. We have also increased our exports to some of our existing businesses in North American and European market. So overall, I would say that as the companies start looking at de-risking their businesses, they start looking at exploring new options in their value chain, there would be more opportunities available for us to start becoming a bigger player than what we already are in the global automotive industry.
Very rightly put, Nitin. I just want to understand, take your question further. You talked about India gaining, in this entire change that is going to happen. Eaton, as an Irish American multinational, how do you see India as a market? What are the strengths that you want to exploit when it comes to India, that you could leverage those advantage for your global gains?
Yeah, so India has been part of our strategy and part of it has been of our focus as a nation or as a region, Asia Pacific as a region in general, for a very long time. That we are not new to India. We have had a significant presence in India for many years now. And as I said before, maybe I explained to you our footprint here, right? So we have 8 manufacturing locations. I talked to you about it too. So we are a power management company which helps customer manage power reliably, efficiently,
Just want to
safely, and sustainably. And as the technology,
Do you see acceleration in terms of investment in India, or how do you see this? You talked about India emerging as a winner, if we can say, or in a better situation than it was in the pre-COVID era. Then do you think there will be an acceleration in terms of investing in India? And if that investment is being seen, why? What are the core factors that is going to drive for a multinational companies like yours?
Yeah. So look, we have always been investing in India for a long time. If you look at even the recent history, some of the large investments we have made is starting our new aerospace manufacturing facility in Bangalore, which has been a greenfield project. We started about a little over a year ago. Yeah.
Organic in both investments in India. You have acquired companies, you have gone for greenfield expansion also. That was in an era pre-COVID. I'm talking about after COVID, how you talked about India becoming in a better situation, or it is in a winning line. Then how does it translate into actuals? That's what I want to understand.
Yeah, so we expect that as the capacity utilization improves, and then when we have to make an investment, how we have done in the past, we will continue to invest. I told you earlier about the demand we are seeing now in the post-COVID era, where we are seeing more demand. We would look at how to serve that demand better by investments into our manufacturing facilities. We are also ramping up our presence into our innovation center. We would recently now build the second tower into the premises. We are going to occupy 3 floors out of that very soon, and our test lab capacity is just about to get doubled with what we already have. So those investments would continue, and whatever is the requirement from our customers, both domestically and our own global captive demand, as it picks up, we would be investing. So that will continue, Mr. Nabil. All I'm saying is that with COVID, if there is an acceleration, we are in a situation where we can accelerate that requirement going forward.
Let's move towards electrification drive. That is the main discussion right now in the automotive value chain. How do you see this? How real is it? What kind of penetration do you expect? And how are you prepared for that? Because you are going to play a strong role in this, because you have components or parts or the technology that are very substantial for the electric vehicles. So what's your plan in terms of electric vehicles, and which segment you think will be first to emerge in terms of volume?
Okay, so electrification of vehicles, like you said, has been an emerging trend for some time. And seeing this trend in the industry, our company also formed a separate business vertical called e-mobility, specifically focused on electrification on vehicles. And we have been engaging with the global OEMs on introducing our technologies and our products into this market space. We see that with some critical wins we have globally now, our presence in this industry is increasing. The unique advantage we have over some of our other players in the industry is that Eaton is the only company which has a significant presence and the know-how and the knowledge of the electric products or electric technologies and services, which we can combine with the knowledge we have of automotive industry and products and solutions to come up with the products. So some of the products we launch in the market, like the inverters, the onboard chargers, the DC-DC converters, we have a large play on fuses which are used in this industry, are the products which we have been introducing in the market, and we will continue to introduce it to our partners here. So that's how we see it. At this moment, there are various trials going on with the customers now globally to try out some products and the new technologies which they use, and then the business are getting scaled up. So we are enthused and happy with the progress. In general, the electrification of vehicle is making. There are there is still a long way to go in terms of seeing the big numbers come to markets like India, but we are optimistic that that's where the future will be. And we are working very closely with the OEMs to help them understand what we can do. We are also using our technology center in Pune, to try out some products for our global customers, and a lot of prototype testing and design testing validation going on in our premises, and that will only accelerate going forward. So we are pretty positive about how the e-mobility segment would play for us into our global footprint of businesses.
Localization, you talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat. In under this, localization is a main, protagonist. And electric vehicle has biggest challenge of localization. You talked about AC/DC converter. That is one of the, along with battery. These are one of the biggest cost factor in a vehicle. So, are you looking at localizing that, or you? How do you plan to go
Yeah.
about?
So localization has always been part of our strategy. If you look at our other businesses outside e-mobility, more than 90% of the products we currently sell in India are actually sourced locally. So you can imagine the kind of localization we have gone for in the automotive industry, and we are really proud of that. That really helps us to really serve not only the local market, but we also have a global sourcing team. So anytime we are localizing in India, that is also actually helping us to create global opportunities for exporting of not only Eaton product, but also for our suppliers to export some of the components to our global operations. So this has been going on for some time. On e-mobility side, there are some products which are currently locally, especially on the fuse side with our footprint in Pondicherry, but not to a large extent because of the sheer scale of the business we need to create in India. So typically in the region, as the scale for the business gets created, we would start looking at localization going forward also. So on a component level, there is some export happening now, but that can be scaled up as the scale of the business picks up. But for all our businesses, our localization strategies have really worked very well for us, and we are quite confident that we will continue on that journey for a long time to serve our domestic markets, but also serving our global customers and our own global operations as well. So both front we will be exporting both components and eating solutions.
Uh, just want to understand agriculture sector, farm equipment. We have seen that has been the sunrise sector in India during the crisis. How do you see this going forward? Do you think that this will have those strength?
Oh yes, I mean that as we all know, the segment really picked up very quickly and very rapidly. Almost at the end of the COVID period, the segment was already showing strong numbers. And if you look at some of the numbers being reported now in segments like tractors and in general in the agriculture industry, they are very strong. So demand is very strong thanks to the good monsoon. Some of the policies of the government to promote the rural economies have really paid dividend. We are seeing at least the near-term strong visibility on the numbers, and we hope that the demand will continue to hold over a long period, say more than 6 months period.
Have for the next quarter from
Oh,
agriculture
volumes
sector?
are very strong. So over there, if you talk about capacity utilization, we are almost running at a full capacity, and there is a very significant demand right now. So numbers are very strong on that. One thing I would say that as more and more mechanization happens in the agriculture industry, we would expect that the equipment like harvesters starts getting sold and starts getting more prominence going forward. So we expect that the mechanization drive would continue going forward, and some of the larger agriculture equipment also starts having a significant play. It's already there in India, but it starts the play start or the share of that segment starts getting bigger. But in general, the demand is extremely strong, and we are running at full capacity right now, serving our agriculture customers, agriculture sector customers.
One very interesting, trend we have seen that the Indian market is evolving towards automatic transmission, and AMT has come up. How do you see this landscape changing? What percentage of passenger cars do you expect to have automatic transmission or AMT? How do you see this business, combination working in India when it comes to passenger vehicle, and what is your understanding for the commercial vehicle segment? Because some commercial vehicle manufacturers are looking at AMT as a solution for them also.
Okay, so we have a limited play on a passenger car automatic transmission. So I know that the trends are very positive, and we do observe what's happening there. But from the presence point of view, our presence is more towards commercial vehicles. I have to give you some history. So when you look at our transmission, they are known for being robust, reliable, and efficient. So our products are have been extremely strong. The reliability of our transmissions is very high, and the efficiency in terms of fuel economy they offer is really the top of the industry. Having the significant presence in the global markets around the world has helped us to know the technology very well. And as we started our operations in India, we have ensured that our products are not just copied from what we launch in other parts of the world, but we have really made sure they are adapted to Indian road conditions, Indian usage, because we know how the usage of commercial vehicles is in Indian conditions. And they have been really strengthened and made even more robust for serving the Indian market. So we have been doing that for a long time now, and we've launched series of products with new features focused on three basic value propositions: robustness, reliability, and efficiency. So that has been the three around which all our products in the commercial market have been introduced, and our OEMs really value Eaton as a company for those. So that's the first aspect. Now talking about AMT, we expect that as the new generation of drivers starts coming into these markets, and as our investments in infrastructure done by the government starts yielding dividend, and our road network strengthens and starts getting better, there would be a need for uh, I would say a better truck or a better truck chassis, where customers start looking for things like driver comfort, along with robust, reliable, and efficient value propositions they look for. And as the new generation starts getting into this field, the things like driver comfort would get importance, and then technologies like AMT will start having a bigger play. Our OEMs understand that very well. For sure, they have a knowledge of the market, and they know how the trends would be. And we are seeing now currently there is a lot of interest into understanding what a global technology company like Eaton can offer in this space. We have been in discussions with the OEMs to look at building some demonstrators and introducing those products. We do have experience of launching those products in other parts of the world, and we believe that we are in a unique position to bring that experience to our Indian customers and help them launch those products. So we are hopeful that some of these discussions would finally result into building of demonstrator units, and then some of the products getting launched. Currently, the play is limited to buses, as we all know, but we expect that that play will expand to some of these heavy-duty trucks for both haulage and tipper applications going forward. So we are hopeful that these technologies will come to India very soon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chalke, for talking to ET Auto. Thank you so much for answering all the questions candidly. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Mr. Nibal, again for having us, and it was good to interact with you. And we again wish everybody to have a safe stay, and just take care of yourself in this very difficult pandemic situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chalke. So that's come to the end. We'll again come back with another industry leader. If you have any specific suggestion of who should be next speaker in our ET Auto Big Bite, you can simply write in the comment box. Thank you so much. Keep watching ET Auto for all news and updates on automotive industry.